this is a sample just like the one we just collected. And the first step, so remember when we collected this sample, this didn't just have leaves. It had the leaf litter, and then it also had soils. Because especially in the litter addition plots where some of the leaf litter on the ground has been raked up and moved, it has more soil stuck to it than normal. So this is something we had to take account for. The data that we're getting from these is the dry mass of carbon. And if we are taking the dry mass of the whole sample, but there's a lot of soil, soil is heavier than leaves. And so we'll think that there's more carbon than there really is. So here's a sample. And the first step is open it up. And these boxes are for the sample to soak. So the soil that is stuck to the leaves needs a little bit of time to loosen up. So the first thing I put in here is this little piece of plastic that has the sample number. It's the same as the number on the bag so that they don't get mixed up. It's really important to not mix them up. And then some of the sample gets stuck to the bag. Okay. So now put some water in here. So I've got enough water in this box to make sure that the whole sample is wet. And we're going to leave this one here to soak because it needs to soak for 10 or 15 minutes and continue on with one that's already been sitting here soaking for a while. All right, so this is what I'm going to use to sieve the sample in the first step. This is my very own design and construction here. I cut holes in this box and glued on these pieces of mesh. And so I'm trying to separate each sample into two different size classes because I'm trying to see if there's a different effect of having more leaf litter in the forest. On the floor, I'm trying to see if there's a different effect on the large pieces of leaves and the small pieces of leaves. So these are this is the small part of each sample. And so the first step is to sieve it in this. And so what the objective is of washing it is two things. We're trying to remove the soil that's mixed in with the sample and then also separate into two size classes. So in each step, we're trying to leave behind the soil. So this, I put it in this big bucket of water and agitate it for a minute. So I'm going to shake it all different ways. And the idea is that there's a lot of leaf litter in here, sort of in a big ball. And I want to make sure that all the pieces that are small enough to get out of these holes in the side here have the opportunity to get out. That's why I'm shaking the sample around. Okay, so here you can see there's a lot less in here than there was because there's some small parts that came out here. We're going to use all of these parts and collect all the parts of the sample, but those are just for the next step. So this is 1 centimeter, and the parts of the sample that are more than 1 centimeter in diameter, these aren't part of the sample because they're considered larger woody material. I'm only using parts that are less than 1 centimeter in diameter. So everything that's part of the sample goes in here. So Lucia's finishing up this step, and I'm going to show you what the next step is here. So remember, this is the original bucket that we poured the sample into. So there's two size classes of leaf litter that we're trying to collect. The big pieces, which are these here that Lucia is putting in the tray, and then also the small pieces. So the small pieces are things that were able to escape from this, but don't fit through this sieve I have here. So I'm just going to pour this in. And now I'm going to do the same thing with all this water here that we washed the sample in. All this water also. needs to go through the sieve to collect all the parts of the sample that we washed out. Once we have put all of the washing water through the sieve, we've collected all the small pieces here, and we put it in here to wash. These are shower heads, and so these are other samples that are washing as well. And then we let them wash on here for a little while, because the same reason that I had to agitate the sample in that box with the holes in the side is because if there is a ball of small pieces, there could be soil in the middle, and it doesn't have a chance to escape. So this gives all the parts that are not part of the sample the opportunity to leave through the bottom of the sieve.
Es por un año para empezar, para ojalá pueden tener datos para otra propuesta de más años. Pero.
Then this part goes in a separate tray. So there's each pizza pan of leaf litter that we collect in the forest. In the end, after processing it here, we have 2 different trays of the sample, the big pieces of leaves and the small pieces of leaves. And we're going to weigh them separately.